Hey everyone, welcome back to the Trendcrusher podcast. I'm Peter K. This episode is a bit different. We're not talking metal, but more hard rock, if you may. I spoke to Vikram from Chennai based hard rock band Grey Shack. They have a new album out in Gloom. Yeah, you'll find out more about the title in our chat. We also discuss their new lineup on this album and much, much more. Here's my chat with Vikram. Hi, Vikram. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey Peter, good to be here. We finally got everything up and running. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's strange when I was thinking about it, like considering over the years that we've been in touch and like we've met also a few times. To do this like
Yeah,
online is a little bit strange, but hey, that's what works at the moment, right?
exactly. It's what's happening everywhere. So
Yeah. But the reason why we're talking is, and it goes back to actually how we initially kind of got in touch and knew each other, is Grey Shack is
was it
back.
was it Kaira? Was it Kaira?
No, I think it was Grey Shack, and I think it was Madhav, your bassist at that time, who
Oh,
was literally at that point, you all had released. I think I had some point I have, if I didn't fish it out, but I have a copy of Step Outside, your album from, like,
oh
literally feels
wow.
strange to say back in the day, but
Yeah, I mean it was a time of CDs.
yeah, yeah,
Like people still had CD players in their cars at the time.
yeah. And I think that
And
was one of the last albums Madhav performed bass on in India before he left, I think, if
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, he did.
So
Yeah.
I remember him playing on that, saying, "Hey, Macha, I have this CD of this band I just recorded with," and I was like, "Okay." He gave me a copy, and lo and behold, almost like 15 years later, on my Spotify, it shows up as a new release, so it's back online for everyone who wants to listen to
No,
it.
it was never on the streaming platforms back then
Yeah.
because there really wasn't. I mean, I don't know if Spotify was. It surely wasn't as big as it is right now.
Hmm.
Um, but I remember that the album was available only on OK Listen
Yeah.
and Bandcamp. It was there on Bandcamp. It still is there on our Bandcamp.
Wow. So we'll definitely
Yeah,
link.
yeah. So, but then we just like decided to have it, as a pre new album release kind of thing for all the regular platforms, Spotify, YouTube Music, everything. Yeah. In fact, in fact, Jay even asked if this was the new album. I'm like, no, dude. I said it released on CD. Yeah.
But let's, before we kind of get too nostalgic, I want to focus on like present times and
Uh-huh.
like I say, make a comeback. But like we've been talking about this for I don't know how long, at least a year. Your
Uh-huh.
album In Gloom is finally all set to release, and you're releasing it a week from now, and you'll have a show in Chennai in support of it. How does it feel, first of all, just
Yes.
like all of this coming together finally?
I'm relieved, really. I'm relieved that it's coming out because it's been in the making for quite a while. And when we set out to start, I mean, we set out to record the album, we thought that we would, keep all the production of it completely in-house so that we don't have to spend a single penny on the whole thing. Um, and then, so we did end up recording it. Some of these songs were recorded about a couple of years ago. In fact, Sundowner was released as a video. We released a video as a single on YouTube, I think in 2021. Yeah, like Giant 21, or if I remember. Yeah, yeah. We shot a video in Prashant Oliver's beach house, and
Oh wow,
we put
that's
it out.
his place.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's his place. Yeah, so we put it out there, and then life happened, and you know, my system was also not like super well equipped to mix the entire album because I remember Sundowner took me a while to mix and get ready for release. But then I realized, okay, if I can do Sundowner, I can mix and master everything else as well. But then things just happen, like life just happened, and then you start gigging again after the pandemic gets out, and after you get out of the pandemic. I had a surgery late 2022, so that kind of put a stop on things for a while at least. Um, and yeah, it just took much longer than we would have liked it to take. But then earlier this year, we got a call from this guy who's making a documentary about independent bands in Chennai and in India, and that was a paid gig. So we went to Pondi and we shot for 3 days, and we earned enough money from that shoot to kind of like fast track the production of this album. So that's how we sent the songs to Vivek Thomas for mixing and mastering, and that kind of like really helped us get the album out now.
Wow,
So
I
there's
didn't
like
know this.
so there are 5 songs mixed by Vivek Thomas, and we redid Sundowner as well. Um, in fact, we had to redo the drum tracks for Sundowner before we sent it to Vivek for mixing. So yeah, like it was in my old system. Some of the tracks just went missing, and I'm like, okay, what do we do? So we had to re-record the drums, and in fact, that was a good thing because uh, the drums on the new version of the version of Sandala that's going to be on the album is the result of us performing that song over and over again. So we got very comfortable with it. So Ram sounds a lot more relaxed, and there's a lot more conviction in his playing. So I'm very glad that we did redo the drums. Um, but yeah, we like everything just happened like that once the money came in. So that was good. And I mixed 2 of the acoustic songs on the album, the only 2 acoustic songs on the album. So I had enough time to finish that mix, and then production was done, and then we were like, okay, you know what? Let's start planning the launch gig, and then we are like, okay, we have some money left over from the shoot. Let's do some merch. Let's actually like be glorified t-shirt salesmen, and like make some money out of this thing, and yeah, and everything just happened like one after the other in the last 3 weeks, and yeah, and it's like the last thing to be done is to go and rehearse for the album launch.
Wow, and it's strange that you're saying that, right? When if you think about it, that's like sometimes the main priority, and then you
I
forget
know, right?
all
I
about
know,
everything
right?
else.
Yeah. And in fact, we're actually like the t-shirts are in Ram's house right now. The stickers are there with him. So everything's ready to go except the band hasn't rehearsed yet. We're rehearsing tomorrow and on the 11th. So yeah, it will be a good show.
But okay,
Yeah.
before we get too ahead about In Gloom, right? And thanks for like kind of painting that picture, because I think when I contrast it to at least how things were, and forgive me if I keep bringing back things to like step outside, right? Things very different. Like, I
Sure.
mean, how do you think like not only as like people you'll have changed, as musicians you'll have changed priorities, so many different things that kind of come in, right?
Lineups have
Lineups.
changed.
Lineups have
Yeah.
changed, so much
Yeah.
has happened. How would you kind of say, like, for anyone who's now discovering Gray Shack, right? Like, I'm one of those gray hairs who probably still remember you guys from your first album. But for a lot of people who
Yeah.
are discovering you guys, right? And especially, like, let's put it in some more context. We're in like 2025, where people talk about, you keep reading those articles, and I'm sure you've also seen rock is dead, who's listening to music. Uh, you guys are still like putting this together, and you kind of just very short, in very brief, kind of described what it's like. Um, how
Hmm.
does like your entire approach towards the album and In Gloom? How do you contrast that and see that different?
Compared to the previous stuff
Yeah,
that we've done.
yeah,
Um. Well, so the start of this album really happened when Rohan left the band and Ollie joined us, right? So um, it took a while for Ollie to kind of get into the groove of things with Grey Shack, because at the time, Conrad, Ram, and I had become this sort of engine that just worked like smoothly. There was like we don't need to communicate verbally for things to happen. We've gotten that kind of synergy going on, and And Rohan was also part of that, right? And when Rohan left and Ollie came back, we had to kind of develop this new type of synergy, where we would just hang out and write. Like, not like we did that too many times, but we had like dedicated jam sessions just to sit and like muddle around, like just have fun. Like there was no agenda. So we just would get together, and we would do this in Ram's room, by the way, in his apartment. Yeah. We actually brought our entire rig, and his system has enough inputs to, have all of us connect to it. And we just sit there and jam. Like, because these open-ended jam sessions get expensive if you go to a rental studio. So we would just go there and jam, right? And so it took a while to kind of develop this new style of music that's going to be on in Gloom, right? Um, but it it also took Ollie to kind of start writing the way that he would write, because when he joined us we had a couple of gigs where we had to learn 2 albums worth of music that Rohan had recorded. So it took a while for him to start really coming into his own within Grey Shack, right? And we kept telling him, hey man, like, even when you're learning the older songs, do it the way you would do it. Like try and hit the same notes, but don't try and like sing it like how Prashant Oliver would sing and not like how Rohan would sing. You guys are not the same type of vocalist. So it took some time to get there, but we got there. And that's really what resulted in all the songs on In Glue. And the writing style has changed completely, right? Because with Rohan we would all sit and write together, but Ollie has this tendency to sit at home and write songs on his acoustic guitar at home, and then he brings the songs to us, right? And we go over the whole thing, and it became what it became. I think Sundowner was the only song that we wrote. That was the first song we wrote actually for this album, and that kind of just like wrote itself really in the studio. It was a fun jam session just coming up with that song. Like it came about in like 3 hours, I guess.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, but then the other songs required more work. Like up until I recorded the guitar solo for one of the songs in the album, I didn't have a proper song, a proper solo. That I mean, I only performed that song a few times, so I was just winging it each time. But this time I actually sat and wrote it. So it's evolved all through the production process and from even before it, right? Because part of the evolution was having Ollie get into his own skin, within Grey Shack, and then have us like, provide the music for it behind. I mean, not behind, but all around the song and all around his lyrics. And because we also have our inputs for how his song could progress in a different way, right? Because everyone's creative inputs are like gold, right? Because we all understand that Grey Shack has always and always will be just 4 people: guitar, bass, drums, and 4 people who can sing, right? So we know what our limitations are, but we don't so we arrange songs accordingly, you know. So it took a while to get there, but we got it. Yeah.
I'm glad you kind of talked about it, right? Because I think, at least from a listener's perspective, right? And thanks to you, I heard early mixes of In Gloom, uh, but also knowing the concept. Uh, Lyrically, also, or
Mm.
concept wise, you all have kind of evolved. Uh, was that part of that entire journey that you're kind of
Yeah.
talking about? And if you could just like, for everyone else who hasn't yet heard the album, could you just like give us a teaser of what the album's about?
Okay, so we wrote the songs, right? And we decided that we would call the album In Gloom, like, as a hat tip to Nirvana, right? But it's In Gloom. So we kind of decided to give it um, a very Hotel California-esque entity, right? It's this, like if you see the artwork, you'll see that you'll actually see like a robotic innkeeper, and there are like thousands of keys flying around. There's like a guy being sucked up a tube. Okay, so it is set in a slightly not so futuristic reality. You know, think like think the first season of Love, Death and Robots. Right, there was some cyberpunk imagery there. So we're going with that kind of imagery for this album, right? And it's not too difficult to imagine a reality like that because it can get there, right? Um, so, but then the fact is that this guy, this person who's having this, so the guy, I mean, the album is about this person who goes through a series of incidents when he enters in Gloom. So he's a newly single guy, okay? Like he's just like broken up with his girlfriend or his partner for of a very long time, and he is clueless and he is angry at the world, and he's like what the hell? Why is this happening to me? Right? So that's I mean the song. So we even like wrote the story of this guy um, according to the songs that we wrote and what each song meant, right? So there is an order in which you have listened to the album, preferably, right? But they all exist as their own songs. They're not like a typical concept album where you have like repeating motifs and callbacks to like certain um, uh, pieces of music that were there in other songs of the album. It's not like that. Okay, so but there is a story between each song, and there is a sequence of events that happen, right? So so this our friend, he realizes that there is a lot of darkness in him, and he kind of and then he's like, what, screw this, I just want I just want to go and find a woman and spend a night with her, right? So because he feels like that's the only way he's going to like process this emotionally scarring breakup that he's just been through, right? So basically he's looking for deception, right, to get through the night, and he checks into In Gloom. He follows his woman into In Gloom, and the rest of the songs are about how he goes through a series of incidents within the inn, and it kind of like beats him down to rock bottom. All these incidents, all these things that he goes through, like he meets people and he has his own revelatory experiences that kind of like beat him down to rock bottom, and then he gets out. When he gets out of In Gloom, he checks out. The innkeeper tells him, for what it's worth, I hope you had a good time, and that's the last line of Sundown, right? So every song has like a story to it, and there's like each song is sung from a particular point of view of the characters in the story.
Wow, this is a proper throwback to like, you going through the CD or the liner notes and the lyrics and stuff like that. Like, because that's the thing, right? I mean, at least for me, that's how I love enjoying
Exactly. Yeah.
music, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we still haven't like really. We want to like write out the story like properly and maybe release it as an addendum to this album, I guess. For anyone who wants to read that, it's a story, right? So maybe we'll put it out on PDF for people to download or something. I don't know.
Cool. So, so far we've kind of talked about the album. And now that you've kind of painted this entire concept and picture for us, I know this is going to be a hard one, but if you had to kind of, because people have already heard Sundown, and it's been around for a while, but if you had another song that you think would kind of tease or pique people's interest, which one would you say? And we'll play that on the podcast.
It's tough to choose. In fact, um, I don't know. Maybe Old Black Cat would be good. But then you don't have that on. Yeah, I don't think you have that song with you.
As yet,
I don't.
you'll have to
I
send it
know.
across.
Yeah, I'll have to send it across to you. But That's one of the acoustic songs on the album, and it came out so good.
I said for a change, people hearing Grey Shack acoustic.
Exactly, and I think that's why, like after listening to Sundowner, someone would have to listen to Old Black Cat because, in line with the story of the album, the Old Black Cat is the darkness that follows this guy wherever he goes. So we've kind of like personified that darkness as an old black cat. It's like a specter that he can't get rid of, and it's all in his head. It's the darkness in his head.
So for those who haven't heard it and are hearing it for the first time, here's the Old Black Cat of Grey Shack's upcoming album, In Gloom.
Walking past broken mirrors, light my cigarettes on match 3. Black crow sitting on my shoulder, and every day's Friday the 13th. And that old black cat still follows me. That old black cat still follows me. I got to the door, but I can't find the key. And that old black cat still follows me. Still follows me. Got my shoes on the table, salt spilt upon my knee, my fingers crossed under a ladder, but that don't mean too much to me. I let it be. And that old black cat still follows me. That old black cat still follows me. I got to the door, but I can't find the key. And that old black cat still follows me. Still follows me. I take bad luck in my stride, 'cause I was born to live and raised to die. One's own death ain't no reason to cry, but I'll still take a look out of the corner of my eye. That old black cat still follows me. That old black cat still follows me. I said, leave me alone or set me free. And that old black cat still follows me. Still follows me. Still follows me. Still follows me.
And that was Old Black Cat by Grey Shack of their upcoming album In Gloom. And I've got guitarist Vikram with me. Now, it's interesting that you kind of talked about a not so futuristic kind of vision and things like that, right? Because just the other day we were kind of talking in office, and this is so weird, uh, where we were talking. Are you familiar with the term waifu?
What? No.
So it's this
And
thing where
how you spell it? How do you spell it?
I think WAF WAIFU, where people basically have like these
Okay.
digital girlfriends. And
Okay.
like it's very strange when I was thinking about it, because like I don't know if you've seen that movie Her. I've not seen it, but that felt like kind of creepy and weird. But it's
No, I
it's
haven't
strange
seen
that
it either, but
it's
I've heard of it.
strange,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's strange that you're now kind of hearing or thinking about this happening in a way, and like with the rise of like AI and people sharing a lot of like personal and emotional stuff online, like a lot of this wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But
Gosh. Yeah.
yeah, we're old.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say on this. But for all like the recording nerds and the gear nerds and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
Take us through that process, and like at least for someone, and I want you to maybe start off by talking about like at what stage did you realize that, hey, you know what, maybe like while recording is okay and I can kind of manage it, and all of y'all are, I think, like competent enough musicians to kind of manage all of that. But then, because you're so close to the music, to let it go and get someone else to mix and master it. So let's break it up into like two aspects, like the actual recording and then like the mix and master. What is that process like?
So recording also has a lot to do with arranging, right? So this was going to be a studio record. So we weren't going to be we weren't restricting ourselves to thinking, oh, how will we perform these parts live? That's fine. That doesn't matter to us right now because we wanted the record itself to sound like sonically great, right? And there are ways. I mean, the easiest way to get to a good sounding record is to have parts that are arranged beautifully, like guitar parts and voices and bass and drums. And because we have only such few instruments, right? We all like kind of take up more space in the sonic spectrum than we would in a slightly larger band. Like the more people there are in an ensemble, the tinier your sonic space becomes within that, right? So we're not restricted to that because we're only four of us and like it's only like three instrumentalists, right, as such, but all of us sing as well. So um, we really spend time arranging our parts really well. Like even if there are acoustic songs, we realize that we won't just like double the acoustic guitar on on the right hand side. We actually wrote like different voicings for like certain chords so that when it comes in, you there's a change in energy in the song itself. It's not just about more girth or like more of the same. It's not as fun as something slightly different but complementing what's already being played on the other side. So um, we did a lot of work with that in that aspect. And like you said, we have evolved as musicians as well over the years because we're all session artists as well. So we all play for multiple people within the industry, be it like commercial playback musicians and singers and whatnot. So we have become quite experienced in many more ways than just performing, right? So I mean I like to think that my ear has developed in a way that uh, I can think of arranging guitar parts really well. So once that once the arrangement is done, the mix really only enhances it. So and Vivek Thomas has worked on records on other records that we know of, and he's really good. And in fact, even uh, my drummer he released a song of his own, and he had it mixed by Vivek Thomas, and he was super happy with how that it came out. And even the other album that we played on, Unben Peruveli, the one with Sanjay Subramanian, that was also mixed by Vivek Thomas. So we have personal experience with him, and we know how he treats our parts. He really treats it with respect, and he brought in like this brilliant polish and sheen to our mix that I certainly don't have the skills to do just yet. I'm getting there, but someone can do it faster. I mean, why not? I mean, he really did make our record sound fantastic. So it's not without experience that we haven't that we went to Vivek, because our first two records were mixed by Toby Joseph. We did that, and then we're like, okay, you know what? Let's try and go like get a different perspective this time.
So thanks for sharing that, right? And you know, this is the question I also wanted to ask you, but now that you've kind of brought this up, right? Uh, Tell me about that duality when it comes to you, and I think not just for you, but the other band members also, right? Where you're playing in other projects which are commercial. Some of them where you're playing covers, some of them where you're playing, say, film music and stuff like that. And then there's also the band itself. And while I'd love for you to share your perspective because you've played on like a variety of different kind of music, right? How do you kind of build that? I don't know if it's a compartmentalization or a segment, the kind of thing, right? Because for me, it's really hard when I think about it. How do you kind of put together, or is it just like really prioritizing it? How do you kind of do that? I'm very curious.
So I think it's about listening to different kinds of music, right? And being open to listening to. I mean, because see, as a session artist, it's kind of given that you kind of have to wear many hats, right? So to that extent, what I've done is like, and this is like just the way I internalize music. It's not something I actively do, right? Is to listen to the guitar tones and how guitars are played on various kinds of records, um, like Nile Rodgers playing on Random Access Memories by Daft Punk is very different from how Stevie Wonder's Dance by David Bowie, and that's very different from how you know Michael Landau played for his solo stuff, and how Dan Huff as a session artist played for people like Whitesnake, and then he also produced for Shania Twain. Like what? That's so I kind of started getting drawn towards how each kind of guitar tone through the eras of music, like at least contemporary music, has kind of evolved. So I've always been drawn to the guitar aspect of things, but very different kinds of guitar tones. Like I enjoy listening to Slash and Dream Theater and Mr. Big as much as I like listening to the intricacy of the delays on Dark Side of the Moon, and the guitar tones of The Wall, and how you and The Edge by from YouTube, right? So extremely different kinds of guitar tones. It all excites me. So I kind of have this kind of repository of these sounds that I have heard and have internalized. And depending on what I'm expected to do for a recording session, or to perform with somebody, I kind of tap into these little repositories of information that I have in my head, and it's all it's all it's all me as well, right? Because I won't play the same part exactly like how somebody else did it. I would adapt it for my style of playing. So it is an amalgamation of all of that. So I pick my guitar in a certain way that only I can play, right? And it's my approximation of all those kinds of guitar tones that I've heard, and how I would, record. I mean, how I would play that song, play that kind of guitar part on a track, is what I, kind of get into. There's always a bit of me in there, and that's unavoidable because that's inherent to the way I play. So yeah, that's how I kind of learn to adapt to different kinds of situations.
But I think another aspect is also the discipline, right? Because I feel like sometimes as a creative person, and I'm using that as a very broad term, you're very like it's probably easier to get swayed one way over the other. And I think like over the last, I don't know, 15 years, if I have to track all the various Indian musicians that I know who started off playing in Indian bands or independent bands to now them sessioning and things like that. It's that proportion. I mean, like, there's a joke I have about a lot of the metal drummers, especially from Bombay, right? Is that now earlier they used to meet at gigs. Now the only time they meet are at airports because they're all zigzagging across the country playing various gigs. So that's where they end up meeting each other. And I think that's a reality, not just for the drummers I joke around, but it's for other musicians also, right?
Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody does that, and like it's exactly what you mentioned. Like we keep bumping into other musicians at the airport, like good friends that we work with all the time. They all of them are just everyone's playing for somebody different at some point. Yeah, so everyone does it, and that's the only way you get to survive in this industry, right? So we've made a choice to earn a living through playing music because this is what makes us happy. Kind of have to be disciplined to see it through, right?
No, and so a different kind of question for you, right? Now, say like a, I don't know, 18, 20-year old who's like very passionate about saying playing his instrument. And I'm generalizing, right? It could be like either it could be a singer or things like that. And they're at that cusp where they're like, hey, I don't know, either going to do CA or I'm going to do an MBA or whatever, but I also have this drive to do kind of music. And as someone who's been there, done that, and taken that kind of decision, right? What kind of advice, not to say, but what kind of guidelines or principles would you set for them, which would kind of help them steer in which direction should they go?
Um, don't get into it for the money. If you try chasing money in this industry, it will not come. It just won't come. Yeah, because if you, I mean, and that's why people start doing this, right? Like at least the working musicians. But then you're talking about someone who's aspiring to be that kind of person, right? Um, the thing is, a lot has to do with your attitude towards it, right? Uh, because if you're chasing the wrong thing, then you might be barking up the wrong tree, right? Because the first thing you need to chase is excellence in what you do, because only your work can speak for itself in this industry, right? Because if you can't deliver, everyone else is going to hear it on stage or in the on the recording, right? You can't fib your way through this. It's not like you can put up a video on Instagram and have it like digitally spread out, and that it's not like that. Because when you go into the studio and the red light goes on, if you can't play in tune or in time, like, you probably won't get called for a while, or maybe until you get better. But that actually can be a very demotivating experience for a lot of people. When you listen back to yourself on record, and you actually don't sound as good as you think. And it's a very humbling, and it's a very humbling experience. Um, but yeah, like the only advice, so to speak, that I can give is to just stick to it, because you should do it because you love playing guitar and not because you want to earn money, right? The money will come if you're good, but only if you're good. So yeah, that's what I would like to say about that.
Okay, and just as a follow up, right? Because I feel you brought up an interesting part, which is social media. I mean, when you started out as a musician, the only social media available was like Orkut, then later
Orkut.
Facebook, and then YouTube, where you would kind of just only watch a lot of content, right? No one was like, I think in the till what 5, 7 years ago, nobody thought about like putting out content on YouTube. Uh, I mean, no one ever
Yeah.
considered it. So that's also a trap to kind of fall into, I feel, right? I mean, and also I think from my perspective, and as again, this is an observer, right? It's very important what you said. Uh, if you're playing through the algorithm or playing to a certain trend, it'll only last that long. And I have actually seen certain bands who have later admitted to me that, we were at the end of a trend. So we kind of had a very short success period or things like that. And then what happens after that, right? Because I think like fame is also, I think, one of the drugs that no one talks about. And I think it can get very addictive, right? Being famous, being recognized, being known by people. And then what happens when nobody does that?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's the thing about fame, no? It's a fickle
Hmm.
minded thing, right? So yeah, like you really can't trust the algorithm these
Hmm.
days because it just keeps changing. It's not something that you can kind of like rely on. It's not something that is there to help you out. It's there to keep you constantly trying, right? And constantly trying to achieve something that's always going to be just out of your reach, right? Because like you said, this band like told you that they were at the end of a trend. Like why aren't you trying to just get good as a band? Like, why don't you play more? Why don't you get together in your jam room a lot more and just like play for the fun of it? What happened to that? Have you forgotten that you started playing music? They started learning music because you want to have fun. Like, did you at some point you just forgot that? Like how like I cannot tell you how important it is to be able to have fun and to remind yourself that this is why you began because it made you happy. Like, I mean, it's like you're not being honest to yourself.
No, true words. I don't think I can add any more. I mean, you can really put that well. But moving on, right? And this is something I ask all musicians. And considering your taste and the brands that you kind of brought up, I'm very curious now to know what you'll come up with. So this section is called "What You Currently Listening To," and if you could share, I mean, first of all, I don't know if you get time to listen to any other music,
I do, I
considering
do,
everything you do.
I
But
do,
what's
I
on your
do.
playlist at the moment?
So it's interesting. So now I'm learning parts. I'm learning the guitar parts. I'm internalizing the songs from this album called Retrograde by Sai Sanjit. So because uh, I might do something with him on stage at some point of time. So I'm internalizing that now. So that I literally started listening to that just like an hour ago, right? And that's something I keep listening. I'm listening to right now. I'm also listening to, so when I'm at home, right? It's interesting because there are other people who also play music at home, and and my partner, my girlfriend, likes listening to pop stuff, pop and EDM, right? It's electronic music that I generally don't listen to as much. So but then she also listens to a lot of like a lot more newer pop that I'm not really into as such, but I just don't listen to it as such, right? But every now and then I listen to something that goes like, hey, that's interesting. So I don't think there's any active listening apart from the things that I'm learning, right? Because I mean I'm also learning. And in a few days I will be learning. So hang on.
But it's interesting you say that, right? Because I have an 8-year-old son, and
Mhm.
like the current obsession of his is K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's basically about, think about anime, and you've got K-pop stars and this rivalry of K-pop stars, and there's this song called Soda Pop, which is like really popular, and yeah, that's all he's singing right now, which is really crazy. But hey, you know what, I watched 3 quarters. I think I lasted 3 quarters of the movie with him, so then I just fell asleep.
Right.
But it's, and when I think about it, right, like a lot of that music is no different from what's trending in like metal. You have like baby metal and things like that. It's pretty much the same thing with a little more pop influence and less guitars.
Correct. Yeah.
But cool. Wow. And
I mean, so I end up listening to like Maroon 5 and like Charlie Puth and stuff like that, like randomly. Like it really doesn't have any pattern. And because she also enjoys listening to Journey and Whitesnake and everything. So there are days when I take over the playing and then she plays when she wants to play. I listen to her, so through her I also listen to through a lot of old Hindi music, like Mohammed Rafi kind of stuff. So why not? It's cool, man. Like it's all good music. I mean, some music is better for me than others. Because I mean, I can't, I just cannot wrap my head around EDM as much as I want to. I mean, no, I don't want to. Yeah, as much as I try, I can't wrap that around my head because for me, music has a very different uh, definition, so to speak. And it's a very broad definition because I listen to a lot of different kinds of music. But something like this, it seems I'm like, okay, I get why people might enjoy it, but then it kind of it bores me. Like EDM bores me. Like I walked into a bar where there was a pretty well-known DJ playing, and this was many years ago when I was actually doing like the bar hopping thing, you know. And not that I did that too often, but it was one of those nights when you start drinking at a place that's not so expensive, and then you go and you go to the fancier place where the better DJ is playing or something. I went with a group of friends. It wasn't my plan, just so you know. Yeah. So we went to this fancy place, and this guy is playing, and people are all like this. Like there's virtually no room. It's one of those kind of really packed clubs. And I'm sitting in one corner and I'm sobering up because this kind of music just doesn't like do anything for me. Like it's it just doesn't do anything to me. Yeah. It's like green tea. I'd rather drink hot water. No, it's a really stupid analogy, but you kind of get it. It's like it does nothing for me.
no, no,
Yeah.
fair enough. I totally get where you're coming from, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but coming back to Grey Shack, I mean, I know you'll announced one show. Uh,
Mhm.
what can you share about any other plans that you'll have in support of the album?
Definitely doing Bangalore, Hyderabad. We're trying to get some sort of contact at. I think Ram has a contact at Antisocial in Bombay. But apparently, Antisocial has this thing where they say that we need another local band to play. They need like a double head or double bill kind of night, right? So we're trying to find a band from Bombay who can play so that we can get our asses there. Because once we get to Bombay, we can go to Pune from there. And we have an inn over there with one venue called Swig in Pune.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So Ram knows something there as well. So we're trying because we're going to work with Shrikant from Chennai Scene to help us get our music out to Bangalore and Hyderabad. We definitely want to go to Hyderabad. We haven't been there in years because we used to be pretty regular at Hard Rock in Hyderabad. And we had some really nice shows there playing original English music. So that was great. Like, so we want to go back there at some point. It's sometime in the very near future. And also we're hoping to get on the lineup at Badland, but I mean I don't know how to I don't even know where to begin for that.
Yeah, man. Trust me, it's like the more and more I speak to bands, it is one of those struggles, right? And it's really strange that, at one end, you have everyone who says, like, there's a rock revival, there's all these international bands coming in, you have Lollapalooza and things like that. But on the other end, you have, bands who are trying to like just play shows. That's it. Like I'm not even talking do big things. But and it's very strange also that, considering the digital that we're talking about and the digital boom and things like that, at the same time you've got like all of this. So while it's become easier it's also equally become harder, right? Because you've got more bands, you've got more gigs, you've got so much more, right? And what, weirdly enough, I've, at least as an observer, seen tribute gigs are back again. And how? Like,
They
you
never
have,
went anywhere.
strangely enough, right? Like, I honestly thought that that would be something that would go, but
No, why would it go? I mean, okay, so 2014 when Grey Shack went to Austria, right? We were literally the only band over there performing originals. Like, believe it or not, and this is like this massive biker festival organized by Harley Davidson, right? Every band over there was a cover band or a tribute band. Like, they actually they take their tribute bands really seriously. Like, they even dress the part. They try to get the same instruments. They try to get the same amps. I think there was an ACDC tribute band over there, and they were doing the whole, uniform and shorts and Gibson SG thing. They were trying to do. They did the whole thing. So I'm saying how much it can get, like how big it can get even outside of India. Like, this is Austria, which actually has a pretty evolved musical culture. But there are Kiss tribute bands, there are ACDC tribute bands, and there's a guy in Japan who learned to play exactly like Jimmy Page. Like, he's pretty
Jesus.
famous now. Yeah, yeah, and when I mean play exactly like Jimmy Page, you can't tell the difference.
Wow.
Yeah, he even looks the part. He has the same clothes. He even, like, has the same stance. It's like how Rami Malek, was such a convincing Freddie Mercury
Yeah.
in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
This guy is that for Jimmy Page, except that this is real. Like, this guy exists right now.
Wow.
So clearly around the world there is something about a tribute act, right? Like, why not?
I mean,
And it's okay. So what? Like, you do it because people want to kind of get somewhat close to an experience like the real thing.
yeah.
Even though however diluted it's going to be, and we know it's going to be a diluted experience, right? We know that. Like I've played Pink Floyd tribute shows.
Yeah, I
I
vaguely remember those.
Yeah, but you know what? There were 300 people inside the bar that night, and those people, they sang every note of every solo that I played that night. Every note. Okay, like, there's something about, see, a tribute act is not about the gig itself; it's about the artist that you're a fan of, right? You go there to listen to just Pink Floyd for that night. You go there just to listen to Guns N' Roses for that night. It's really not about anything else. It's not about the band that's performing. It's about the trip. It's about the band that's being paid tribute to, right? And some people, you just want to go to a bar and sing. We don't need no education, like, at the top of your voice, right? Why not? I don't care. It's nice. It's actually fun to do these things sometimes once in a while. At least, I get to say that because I do have a musical career where I'm playing my own material most of the time. So it's fun for me to do, like, to sit down and learn how to play the solo on high hopes with a slide, right? Because I don't get to do that too often. So that's my take on it. So
No, just to end, right, and to kind of give you an example exactly of what you're talking about with the Pink Floyd thing. Uh, I attended a Pink Floyd tribute a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't like by design, but it just happened last minute. Someone had a ticket, they couldn't make it to the show, and I went. And Ravi Iyer, who used to be part of the band Vayu, Paravayu, and I think back in the day also
yeah,
he
yeah,
used to be
yeah.
part of
I know
many
that way.
bands. Yeah, for me, what was amazing, and I think this was a sit down venue in Bombay called NCPA, which is like this, prim and proper, sobo, as we call it in Bombay, crowd that comes in. And I spent at least 20% of the show looking around at everyone, because this is also one of those places you can't take your phone and record or take pictures. None of that allowed, right? You have an usher who comes in this. But
few people I noticed who were there, you've never seen them at any other gig, but they're at this gig. There was a gentleman who needed assistance to get out of his seat because he had a walking stick and someone had to help him out. And I'm like, man, for these guys, this is like it, right? Like they get to kind of enjoy this on a Friday, I think it was, or a Saturday, and they get to listen to Pink Floyd and just kind of reminisce. So I know what you're talking about. But on the other hand, this was a year ago. So there's a band called Nemophilus that do a very convincing Linkin Park tribute show. And
Anthracite.
they're also, yeah, they're also doing one. But this is a newer band from Pune.
Yeah.
And I happened to be at their show here in Bombay. And again, I think I showed up last minute just to kind of see what it's all about. Now, as someone who grew up listening to Linkin Park, right? Seeing about 250 people singing in the end, like they grew up with that song, and most of them I think were not even born when that song was released, right? It was so cool to see. Like I have a video which I think I'll send it to you. It was so awesome, just everyone kind of singing and going around. And yeah, and now, and I think this was before Linkin Park announced their comeback. So soon after that, Linkin Park announced their comeback, and now they're playing Lollapalooza next year in Jan. So that's going to be just interesting, like how many people have been introduced or know the music through these tribute acts and now are getting to kind of see the band. So yeah, like you said, there is a upside to these tribute shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I don't understand why people look down upon them, upon tribute nights and all that. Because, I mean, look, the basic requirement for that is for the band to be good. Okay, like that is something that's inexcusable. You have to be really good at what you do, because if you sing tribute night, everyone who's attending is going to have slightly higher expectations than normal, especially for something that's so recognizable and such a huge part of their childhood, right? Like you have to try and do justice to it. Like when I play tribute night, I don't change solos. I don't improvise on solos. For me, that's like, oh, it's like I have to memorize this, I have to internalize this, I have to do it, right? For me, that's the basic requirement. If you're calling it a tribute act, like go all in, do it well, right? For me, that's what's important to me. Like I would not want to go for a tribute act where the band isn't good. It has to be a bunch of good musicians. So like, yeah, you kind of have, you can have standards there in that respect, I guess, right? But yeah, like we should have more people coming to the independent shows as well. And that's been something that this conversation's been happening for so many years, man. Like ever since I started playing guitar, this conversation's been happening, right? Like at least at least in some way, I think we kind of had it a little bit better by having to go and play competitions, band competitions, where we were supposed to play original music. Like it was looked down upon if you played a cover, right? So I mean, you got extra, and like you got special consideration if you played an all original set. So that kind of motivated us to write cool songs on our own, right? I think we kind of had it better back then. I don't know the competition scene right now if it's even like a thing, because even after I got out of college and started, performing professionally, I would always go to Sarang just to go and see who the new, five bands to look out for are, right? Like because if you go to Sarang or even my old college Deepwoods, MCC Deepwoods, it was always a, a place to discover new talent, right? Cultural Fest was banned from VIT, who not VIT, some band from Bangalore, okay, who came and like just killed during one of the Sarang competitions, right? I think I was judging, so I got to go and watch these competitions from both angles, as a participant first and then at the judges table. But then I would also go there as a fan. Like like I tend to get very personal, like very excited when I see good musicians perform. I'm like, okay, that person's going to do something cool if they stick with it. So for me, it was about that. So I think we kind of had it a little bit better, where with regards to performing original music and performing it live, right? Because that kind of like engages with the audience like that. Like, and at a college fest, you are assured an audience, right? Because all the girlfriends and boyfriends of the bands of the people performing there on stage were there from every college, right? And they also got to see the other bands perform, so you became fans and friends immediately. Like, we didn't have to look. That was social engagement, like actual human engagement and interaction, right? And it was immediate. We didn't have to wait for likes and follow accounts on playlist recommendations. We didn't have to do any of that. So yeah, I mean, I know this conversation is kind of digress somewhere, but yeah, I think that part was really important to how Grey Shack became a band worth considering, like, worth taking seriously as well, even for me.
Okay, please indulge me since you brought this conversation to this stage. Uh, Top three bands you discovered and will never forget as a performer that you saw, like you talked about playing part of competitions. Top three bands you discovered as a performer, and top three bands that you discovered as a judge.
Oh, okay. Um, okay. One person that I watched that I knew was going to make it big was Aditi Ramesh. Okay. And I saw her perform at her college fest in Hyderabad. Grey Shack was invited to play at Nalsar, Hyderabad. And before we got on stage, there was a bunch of people, there were a bunch of bands and artists performing before we went on stage, right? So Aditi Ramesh was one of them. And we heard her sing and we were like, oh my God, this girl is great. Like, what is she doing in a law college? And then, a few years later, we find out that she's quit her law practice and she has become a full-time musician. So that was one person. Um, as a performer, who have I? So my own drummer was one of those people that I discovered. I don't know if I can talk about full bands that made it as big, but I I kind of like zeroed in on certain musicians that caught my attention, right? So my drummer Ram Kumar, I saw him first at a band competition at the Chennai Live Band Hunt, and I saw him play, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, where the hell did he come from? And he's this kid. He's like barely legal. Okay, when I saw him first. I saw him backstage. I met him immediately after the show backstage, and I'm like, dude, let's please jam at some point. Like this, you were amazing, right? He eventually ended up becoming our drummer in just a few more months after that. So that's one more person. Um, Harshit Mishra, bass player, hash bass. Yeah. He was in a band in Chennai called 83 Miles Per Hour. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Really? Okay. That's how we all got to know him. Like he had moved to Chennai for a tiny bit, and he was playing bass with 83 miles per hour. And yeah, that's how we found him. Um, I met some really good musicians through my connections at SAM, at the Swarnabhumi Academy of Music. So the boys from Family Cheese were really good friends while I spent some time there. So Johan, Marshall, Apoorv, and Homi were fantastic, like great friends. So I mean, they've all like gone on to do like some pretty awesome stuff. And Johan is still a killing drummer and songwriter. Um, Slain was a band that we saw, when
Oh
when
man.
Grey Shack was also around. So Slain was a band that we saw that I was like, okay, that Bryden is like too good, you know. So it's a pity that Slain didn't really like continue on, but I'm so glad that Bryden has been at it. And so we've all like kind of grown up together, so to speak, have become session artists and become band leaders in our own right. So uh, it was it was that time period of competitions and college fests where we also each other like this.
And quickly as judge, come on. That's something you would do.
Quickly as so as a judge, I cannot remember. Wait, no. Band called Chromosol from Chennai. Yeah, so they all went on to become full-time musicians. Each one of them. Yeah, like they're all active right now in the session scene, and in fact, their bass player plays with us in Indoor. So like every one
Nice.
of them went on to become a full-time musician, like each single band member in that band. Like there's a guy called Rahul Murlidhar, he was their drummer. He's now in Bombay playing he's like first call session artist. There's a guy called Godfrey Emmanuel, he was a guitar player. He's now like full-time playing in the studio session scene. Rashwin plays bass with us. Sharanya Gopinath was their singer, and she is now like she's been a professional singer for a long time. So yeah, those were bands that we ended up judging because they just happened to be musicians who were born a little later. That's all. But they all like hold their own. Like we shared stage with them these days with those musicians. We've all hung out and we've all performed together. So great fun. So yeah.
Thanks so much for doing this chat. But for everyone who's still listening and has gone through, I don't know, the last almost hour of us chatting, anything you'd like to share with them?
Listen to the album as much as you can.
Yeah, and also, as always, I'm going to leave the link to the album and merch that Grey Shack put out in the show notes. Go listen to them and see you in Bombay, as I always say to most musicians.
Yeah, should be fun. Yeah, we're definitely going to try. It'll
Awesome,
probably
man.
happen.
And that was Vikram from Grey Shack. Do check out their album In Gloom and also follow them on social media to find out when they're playing in a city near you if you live in India. Before I sign off, as always, hit subscribe on whichever podcast platform you're listening to this episode on. Just search for Trendcrusher. Lots more coming up in the coming weeks. Stay tuned.